This episode is sponsored by Roundel. Start the new year with media plans built with Roundel, Target's retail media business. Roundel connects brands with 165 million plus Target guests through data-driven strategies and tailored partnerships that deliver measurable results. Whether you're elevating your brand, expanding reach, or driving growth, Roundel helps your message show up in moments of discovery and joy. Because at Roundel, joy is good for business. Learn more at roundel.com.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Pasquarelli, Senior Reporter at Ad Age, and welcome to another edition of the Marketer's Brief Podcast, our weekly discussion about marketing news and trends that have the industry buzzing. New Balance is a brand that has stood the test of time, having been in business since the early 1900s. And despite a plethora of footwear rivals, the brand's sneakers are very popular with Gen Z in particular. Today, we'll be talking with Chris Davis, the Global Brand President and Chief Marketing Officer of New Balance. He'll talk about the brand's cool factor, recent fashion and sports partnerships, and how New Balance links the past to the future. Now here's my conversation with Chris. Hi Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here and talk a little bit about our brand transformation journey over here at New Balance.
So the average tenure of CMOs is around 2, maybe 3 years these days, but you're something of an anomaly in the role, having been the top marketer at New Balance for 6 years, and with the brand, I saw you've been there 17. What's your secret to outlasting the odds?
I think first and foremost, it's the fact that New Balance is a privately held organization. We always take the long view in all of our strategies, and we're not beholden to quarterly earnings reports. So the vast majority of what we do is driving a brand to create a vision in the marketplace and really being focused 5 years out instead of 2 or 3 quarters out. And this really enabled us to establish a foundation rooted in authenticity, but also long-term strategic planning. We do what's right for the organization and our people versus being focused on shareholders and quarterly earnings reports. Playing the long game has been what we've been all about for over 115 years, and we're just getting started.
And you must enjoy the job since you stuck with it for so long. You must have some fun being there.
Yeah, I think anytime you have the ability to work on sports, retail, style, and fashion, I think we're incredibly lucky for culture to be our job. And what I always talk about with our team is that we're fortunate to be in a position where our jobs aren't really about work-life balance. They're about work-life integration, and being able to have your daily life improve your work, and your work being part of the interests in your daily life is just a pretty incredible position to be in. So whether that's, watching an NFL game or NBA game over the weekend, or going out shopping with friends or family, or going to a concert, the things that you observe in these cultural moments enhance your connectivity and pulse in the workplace. And I don't think there's many jobs out there where you can truly say that work-life integration makes you a better professional.
Now, New Balance has enjoyed a resurgence of trendy popularity in the last few years, particularly with Gen Z. I feel like you guys are consistently on kind of the hot list for that group in particular. And all the references to the dad shoe. Why do you think the dad shoe, the brand, is such a hit with that demographic?
Yeah, so I think our brand transformation began about 10 years ago. And it very much had to do with brand identity, brand truth, and brand promise versus products. And part of the impetus of our brand transformation was to really evolve New Balance from a great, exceptional product company to a world-class athletic brand that led with feeling, that led with emotion, and that led with really connecting with consumers on an experiential level versus on a product level. And that was more about revealing what our brand represented versus architecting some topical campaign that tapped into cultural tensions at a certain moment in time. And revealing our brand truth was all about revealing the authenticity of New Balance. And at the core of who we are, we're a brand with heritage versus a heritage brand. A brand with heritage is obsessed with innovating in the future while simultaneously honoring its past. A heritage brand solely relies on its past. So, how could we really capture this notion of being a 110-year-old startup company that was focused on tomorrow? And we really arrived at this concept of being the ultimate challenger brand, not only in our industry, but in any industry. And we knew that if we could be the ultimate challenger brand, we would be able to step aside from the sea of sameness that our own industry had become. So the goal was to really be unique and differentiated. And in order to do that, we knew we had to make ourselves feel uncomfortable, take risk, and just recognize the fact that growth and comfort are two concepts that could never coexist. So we wanted to lean into who we authentically were, and again, reveal our brand truth versus create a new brand. And that was really the impetus of how we evolved and how we've been able to connect with that Gen Z, just addressing the elephant in the room, telling authentic stories about what we represent, and not trying to be something that we weren't. So we captured all of these concepts, and we really decided we wanted to be the best at four different things. And these four different things, I think, have authentically connected with Gen Z and consumers across the world in a way that we haven't been able to do so in the past. The first was really leaning into our heritage and authenticity in premium craftsmanship. We want to be the most premium athletic brand in the world through our product, through our storytelling, through our visual merchandising, and through our activations. The second is to be the most boutique sports marketing brand in the world, to really have a fewer, bigger, better approach and ensure that the best athletes in the world wear New Balance. However, it's not all about how they perform on court, on field, on pitch, or on track. They have to be a reflection of our values as a brand, and they really have to be emblematic of not only our ambitions in the performance and innovation space, but also in the lifestyle space as well. The third is to be the brand that's the best at the intersection of sports and culture. I think that we can both agree that sports and culture and style and music have never been more intertwined than they are today. We feel as though we are uniquely positioned to own that space within our industry and really view our ambassadors as brand first ambassadors versus sports specific ambassadors, and really leverage and activate and partner with them to connect with consumers both on and off the field through performance and through style. And then lastly, which I think is probably the most important for us, is to be the brand that has the most fun and to be the brand that inspires the most fun. We've always been a brand that has been able to make fun of ourselves. We've always been a brand that is witty and clever and embraces the duality of our heritage and our future. And you mentioned the dad shoe trend. And I think, first of all, I'm a dad, right? And like, I love dads, and dads value comfort, they value quality, they value craftsmanship. And like, those are all great things that we want to stand for. But embracing that duality and embracing who you are and embracing the elephant in the room and having fun with it is a component of what I think consumers and people have respected about our brand. And my favorite New Balance advertisement of all time was during the 990 V5 launch. And we took out of home all over the world. And it was the simple image of a gray New Balance 990 V5, probably the most quintessential dad shoe that you could think of. And it said, worn by supermodels in London and dads in Ohio. And embracing that duality as a brand and having fun with it, but also telling the transparent truth there is, I think, part of the catalyst of what has enabled us to be who we are today. By being able to bring amazing retro heritage bringbacks from the 80s and 90s and make them part of today's culture, but also having the best athletes in the world wearing our product, and to create a seamless red thread between our past, present, and future, but doing so honestly and authentically in a way that's brand led, I think has really been the catalyst and truth behind our transformation as a brand.
That was a great example. I'm sure the dads in Ohio loved it too. Let's take a quick break for this message from our sponsor.
This episode is sponsored by Roundel. Start the new year with media plans built with Roundel, Target's retail media business. Roundel connects brands with 165 million plus Target guests through data-driven strategies and tailored partnerships that deliver measurable results. Whether you're elevating your brand, expanding reach, or driving growth, Roundel helps your message show up in moments of discovery and joy. Because at Roundel, joy is good for business. Learn more at roundel.com.
Welcome back. So you guys have also had a lot of fashion partnerships, some recent with women's wear brands like Sezane. Can you talk a bit about how those kinds of collaborations are part of your strategy and what brand gains you're getting from them?
Absolutely. So we view partnerships in three distinctive categories. There's sports partnerships, there's entertainment partnerships, and there's brand partnerships. And as I alluded to previously, all of our partnerships are a reflection of our values as a brand, and they're all co-authored, meaning we co-author our strategy, we co-author our product, and we co-author our content to ensure that these partnerships are showing up authentically to both brands or both parties and involved, and really serving as an extension of our own brand in the market. The beauty of these partnerships is you're able to cross-pollinate different groups of fans and tell unique stories that may have never been told before, but all ladder back into the brand truth of each of the respective brands. So over the course of probably the last 7 or 8 years, we've been fortunate enough to be an industry leader in both the luxury and streetwear spaces of collaborative partnerships. And I think these partnerships have enabled us to do two things. One, reaffirm our position as the most premium athletic wear brand in the world and communicate our heritage, craftsmanship, and quality through our products. The second is to be able to manufacture trends into the future and be on the forefront of trend creation versus trend following. In the streetwear space, we've had great partnerships, long-term strategic partnerships with Aimé Leon Dore, with Joe Fresh Goods, with Kith, with Stone Island, just to name a couple. And within the luxury space, Laura Piana, Tag Heuer, Miu Miu, Ganni, Sezane, and so many others. And really being able to cross those two different spaces in a seamless and frictionless manner between the world of streetwear and the realm of luxury, and having both of those spaces say something honest and authentic about our brand is special. And we pride ourselves on oftentimes providing collaborators with their first ever collaboration. We are an entrepreneurial brand, we're an independent brand, and we want to ensure that we're providing opportunities to cultural tastemakers who have their fingers on the pulse of culture. And also, the bigger we become, the more boutique we have to think. We want to be the smallest $10 billion company in the world and the most boutique $10 billion company in the world. So whether that was Aimé Leon Dore, Joe Fresh Goods, Salehi Bembury, they had never done collaborations previously with any footwear brand. And we granted them their first ever collaboration, similar to Basket Case Gallery, which is an up-and-coming brand coming out of LA. With Stone Island, we took a unique approach, and a lot of our collaborations are rooted in performance. The first goal in the previous World Cup was scored in a New Balance Stone Island boot, for example. With Miu Miu, Miu Miu debuted a collaboration with New Balance and Coco Gauff this past spring, where she was wearing Miu Miu and New Balance tennis kits. So really crossing that sport, that luxury, and that streetwear space is a space that we believe that we can uniquely own and occupy. But it comes down to our partners being a reflection of our values as a brand and striving to be the most boutique sports marketing brand in the world, and combining sport and culture in a way that our industry and other industries aren't thinking about.
Well, speaking of sports, I have to ask you about the Super Bowl, of course. Do you have any plans to advertise there, and why or why not? Or what are you doing anything around there as a sports brand?
So this year, we're not focused on the Super Bowl in particular. Our primary front half goals are focused around the Australian Open, where we are the official performance supplier, NBA All-Star Weekend, the London Marathon, and World Cup. Those are our big sporting bets coming into 2026. However, we launched American football in 2025, and we have some great marquee athletes, including NFL MVP Josh Allen, who we will be activating around at the brand-wide level. I think for us, it's the most important to identify spaces where we believe we can have an outsized share of voice and own the cultural and sport dialogue. Australian Open, NBA All-Star, London Marathon, and World Cup are primary focuses in the front half of 2026.
Now, last month, New Balance expanded its global We Got Now brand platform with several athletes. Tell us, just touch on that work briefly and tell us about what goes into the decision to stick with a platform and a tagline versus debuting something new. And also, I'm curious what metrics you're using to measure the success of a platform like that to keep it going.
Sure. And I love the art and science question because everything that we do is a mixture between the quantitative and the qualitative. So, like what you said, sticking with our We Got Now brand platform for another year was a human decision, right? That was a qualitative decision. And again, being an independent, privately held organization that's focused on the long term enabled us to make that decision with courage. And the first thing I'll say here is unique to other brands, about 70% of our budget is spent in the upper funnel. So a lot of what we do drives emotional brand storytelling at the global level, whether that be out of home, social, or broadcast television. And with We Got Now, it's all about communicating our brand personality. And what I love about We Got Now for 3 years, 4 years running is that there's no copy. There's no copy in the campaign. It's our ambassadors that reflect our values as a brand and exude our brand image, which is the brand that's having the most fun and inspiring the most fun. We're combining style and sport because we want to be the brand that's the best intersection of sport and culture. We're demonstrating MLB MVPs, gold medalists, Grand Slam winners, world-class footballers, NBA All-Stars, NBA champions to drive home that message of being the most boutique sports marketing brand in the world. And we're trying to do it through a lens of premium production value to show the craft and the quality of our brand. So We Got Now is all about showing, not telling. It's showing our brand personality. It's showing fun, it's showing premium, and it's showing boutique. And we're doing so in a repetitive way where the campaign is active for 12 to 18 months at a time, which is also unique. We believe in repetition of visual, of voice, and of sound. And I think this campaign is certainly emblematic of the best of what New Balance represents. In terms of how we judge the effectiveness of the campaign, there's a lot of different metrics. But, the three to me that can easily distill the effectiveness of a global campaign that's distributed in dozens and dozens of countries with ambassadors and different media channels are Google, Baidu, or AI search indexes. I don't think there's any better sign of relevant content than a consumer taking out their phone and typing your brand name into a search or answer engine. The second, I would say, is .com visits or in-store visits globally. Was our campaign powerful enough to, again, enable a consumer to take out their phone and type in your web store in their browser? And I would say the last two would be earned impressions. Was your campaign strong enough for other people to talk about it? And lastly, social listening. What was the sentiment behind your campaign? Was it positive? Was it neutral? Was it negative? What was the volume of the conversation? What was the volume of engagement? And just ensuring that it is relevant enough to earn mind space and voice share of consumers that you care about.
Now, I know you guys worked with VML on some of that recent work. Is that a long-standing relationship? And can you tell us more about the agency roster you have?
Yes, VML, I'm proud to say, is the longest standing AOR in the 120-year history of New Balance. We onboarded them about 10 years ago when I first assumed leadership position in global marketing. They helped us reveal our brand truth, which was fiercely independent since 1906. And, they truly understood our vision of a non-traditional agency relationship. We want a flexible agency roster. We want AORs that don't expect predictability, meaning scope of works from year to year change. Sometimes there's major global ad hoc projects, and sometimes there's brand campaigns that we planned for years. We strive to be a nimble, entrepreneurial, flexible, and fast-moving organization, and we expect VML to reflect that, mirror that, and accept that as our major global partner. Other partners that we work with on a global level, Media Hub, they've been amazing in helping us identify our target consumer, the global independent, and really ensuring that our media distribution, mix, shape, and share targets our loyal and aspiring consumer groups in the most meticulous way possible. We use Ketchum for global PR and earned, and Crispin for global social, a new partner that we onboarded last year. We also have a number of different production houses and endemic agencies across our sports-specific categories and lifestyle categories. And we work with a lot of our collaborators as well to create content. So when we worked with Laura Piana, we co-authored that content. With Miu Miu, we co-authored that content. With Aimé Leon Dore, we co-authored that content. Teddy Santis, who's the founder of Aimé Leon Dore, is the creative director for all of our Made in USA campaigns. We work with Joe Fresh Goods to creatively direct our tennis category. So we look at our content and strategic branding partners, not only as agencies, but also as individual creators. And having that mix, shape, and share, I think, enables us to create unique, disruptive, and innovative content and stories in a way that people aren't expecting, but also say something about our brand that hasn't previously been communicated.
Now, you've mentioned a few times the brand history, and New Balance has that benefit of having this rich brand history in business, well over a century. I'm curious if you guys have an archives department or a brand historian, or kind of how you think about strategically connecting the brand's past and heritage into providing momentum for the future.
We do have an archive, a very rich archive, both here in Boston as well as in Tokyo. And, I think there's a seamless red thread between our history, our present, and our future. And the best way that I can describe that is we've always tried to be the best version of ourselves versus the biggest version of ourselves. And that has enabled us to make decisions focused on innovation. We have a heritage in innovation. So we had the first $100 running shoe. We own the color gray. We're the only major athletic sneaker provider that makes shoes in the United States, the United Kingdom. We were the first company to introduce widths. So innovation is rooted in our past. And many of the retro bringbacks that come to market today were once performance products in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And I would say simultaneously, the more that we invest in sports marketing and performance innovation today, that concurrently makes our heritage product more authentic because we are showing up on field, on court, and on track with the best athletes in the world wearing the most innovative product. That further validates the products that we introduced 30 or 40 years ago that probably are reaching peak volume now because of our brand relevance in the performance space. So I guess an elongated way to answer your question, everything that we look at from an archival standpoint ties back to innovation. And that could be innovation in design, that could be innovation in performance, or innovation in storytelling. Fortunately, innovation is implemented into everything that we do, and even some new lifestyle products, they incorporate innovative technologies with innovative designs from the past and mix and mash them up. And when we re-release products today that were originally released decades ago, there's always something innovative about that product from the past that we can re-communicate and story tell into the future to educate and excite consumers about our history, but also why that's trend relevant today and how it's authentic to our past and its original reason for being.
Great answer. I find the history stuff super interesting. We are almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you, one last question. As a longstanding CMO, what brands are you watching? I mean, who do you think is doing a good job right now in connecting with consumers?
Well, first and foremost, I think the best part about our job is being able to partner with brands that we admire. So, not to be biased, but we're lucky because when we see Miu Miu or Stone Island or Joe Fresh Goods or Aimé Leon Dore or Basket Case Gallery or Gani or Cezanne or Laura Piana doing amazing things, we're able to cross-pollinate our perspective on our past, present, and future with them to create something unique and special. So first and foremost, the brands that we most admire are the brands that we choose to partner with, which is great. I have a tremendous amount of respect for what Ralph Lauren is doing right now. I think similar to the manner in which New Balance comes to market by owning its heritage, but evolving into the future and having your fingers on the pulse of today's culture is a really difficult equilibrium to realize and attain. And I think they're doing a good job with that. Simultaneously, I think that Gap Inc. is showing some strong signs of revival in terms of owning accessible, authentic Americana. Really like what they're doing. I would say probably those two brands. And then some more undercover brands like Basket Case Gallery. They're doing some innovative and unique tactics and coming to life in a premium way, but also connecting with new consumers and redefining what premium means. I have a lot of respect for brands that are repurposing product and remaking product and refurbishing product and bringing it back to life in like very curated, visually merchandised capsules, because whether it comes back to like recycling or inspiring heritage, it's educating consumers on the history of premium brands and bringing it to life in a unique and disruptive way. So yeah, those are some of the brands that we admire and that I admire. And I'm sure that list will continue to evolve in 26 and 27.
Great examples. Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, and love what you guys are doing.
That was Chris Davis, Global Brand President and Chief Marketing Officer of New Balance, and I'm Adrienne Pasquarelli, Senior Reporter at Ad Age. I'd like to thank our producer, Lauren Chiardio, and invite you to subscribe to the Marketer's Brief podcast on your favorite player. We promise to keep it brief or at least short enough for your morning coffee. Thanks for tuning in.
Marketer's Brief listeners get $40 off an adage.com subscription. Sharpen your marketing edge and visit adage.com/brief for your discount.